Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bourbon Over Baseball. We got a great podcast today because we have live video finally. And I got Peter, as everyone's heard, and obviously myself, Bob. I got my Woodford Reserve that I'm drinking as well. So we are going to try to wing this. I've never done the video podcasting before, but we've obviously done the podcasting. So we're going to try to make sure this all goes smoothly. And Peter's obviously he's got the information that's just going to blow you guys all away. I'm going to try to keep everything moving. Other than that, we have the New York Mets today, which I think everyone's been super excited for. I know people on Twitter have been waiting for DeGrom. DeGrom is the most salary-pointed player in the league. I know people in my friend group are pretty pumped, actually, to see them. And Peter, obviously, I think we'll break down later what points and stuff is. And we'll have a different podcast way in the future with how actually tiering works. But with that, we have the New York Mets. Peter, tell me about the New York Mets this year.
Yeah, so I think people are more excited for their projections going into this upcoming year than necessarily the squad in 2018. They started out really hot, had a lot of optimism in the first 2 weeks of the season that then died quickly, and they finished as a sub-500 team. The team for the 2018 set is below 4,000 points. But it has a couple really, really draftable players that you're going to want to put on your team, starting off with Jeff McNeil, who had a fantastic rookie season for the Mets. And this on-base 9 card is going to get drafted, I think, really early. I think he might go in the 4th or 5th round just because people love to snatch up value. And for 260 points to get an on-base 9 with 822 speed, I think he's going to go that high.
Yeah, and for a few things I love about this card is, one, I like when the A-Speed 22 guys are running. Like the A-Speed 23 guys, they're like, this guy's hustling for the base. So you just know this guy's got speed. And we had talked off air about Whit Merrifield and what he would bring. And I argued at first for Whit Merrifield, but as Peter pointed out, I'm like, why would you not want Jeff McNeil? And he just fits in a lot of spots. And yes, people like ground balls and they want their infield to be really high. The problem is, with 2018, strikeouts were huge. Everyone was striking everyone out. Ground ball rates are technically low, so therefore you don't need as high of an infield. So if that's the case, could you fit a Jeff McNeil, who's only a +0 on your team? I think you can. He's not going to hurt you with the outs. Just a great card. Actually, great picture and everything. Break down the color because I love it. It's bright. It's bold. Yeah. You could have went 2 different ways here, but I think I like the orange a lot too.
Yeah, and I do really like the cool blue for the Mets. I put in a DeGrom on the blog post with the regular cool blue Mets background, but the way that the blue jerseys popped on the orange made me lean towards the orange background. As we've talked about before, the NL East is kind of filled with red and blue teams.
You're right.
And frankly, the Marlins don't really have a great option for their background, and their logo thankfully is now changed, but their previous logo blended in with the orange background pretty well. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to switch it up from that, but I didn't want a black background for the Marlins because that also blended in. So I went with their kind of turquoisey color. And then blue I went with the Nationals, and the Braves and Phillies are both these reddish colors. And I didn't want it to just be a red and blue division. There's a lot of lighter blue teams in the Cubs and Dodgers that we've already seen, as well as the Yankees. So going orange with the Mets seemed like a natural type of thing. We haven't seen it since the Astros, and it's a very unique shade of orange, I think.
Well, and the blue contrasts so well with it. Plus, with the image in the background, when you have actually the Mets image, the dark tones jump through, and it doesn't look just so orange. It actually has lots of different shades. So I think it does really well.
It's almost like a red in its own way. Like it's like halfway between. Oh, I guess we had the Orioles too, but they're such different oranges.
Yeah, the Orioles are like orange on orange, which is tough, but like and a white. Like this is what's so nice is the blue. It jumps so well with it, but the tones of the orange aren't. The Orioles had an ugly orange. No offense to the Orioles fans, but they did. But yeah, I think Jeff McNeil's great, and geez, getting a 9 from a rookie, sold. And they can only get better as the Mets we'll see later on. So
Yeah,
who's
and
next?
I think the Whit Merrifield comparison
Yeah.
is a really good one for people drafting because you get 2 more speed with Jeff McNeil. Both of them reach at 3. But with McNeil, you're getting a single one earlier. The single plus for Merrifield starts at 13, but no triples. He's done at a double. McNeil gets you 18 to 20 triple, which is a huge range. And then obviously the big sacrifice is defense.
The Royals come out next week,
know,
guys. The spoiler. If you want Jeff McNeil, he's good. Well, Merrifield's really good too. Don't get me wrong, but I liked your value position to him, and I think they're very comparable. And I think it was great when you brought it up to me. I was like, Whit Merrifield, what are you talking about? And as we argued it, I was like, shit, Peter's right. Like he's good. Like if you had this guy on your team, I just don't think you'd be ever mad. Like he's just super good. So
yeah, I mean, and honestly, Jeff McNeil might be the perfect DH.
You know, interesting. Yeah, it depends on the type of. I mean, why would you don't need this? Isn't AL where you need Big Papi. You could get a on base speed guy. He's not going to hurt you anywhere on his chart. No. He's just going to get you on base. It's a new age.
Like a triple is so valuable. I love him. Yeah. I love this card.
It's 2018.
And then he transitions really well into Nemo, who's also probably a top 4 round draft pick type of guy. This is an all around great card.
Oh yeah.
He kind of reminds me of Bobby Abreu from the original set.
Yeah. Was he A speed or is he B speed?
He's A speed, but I mean Nemo's a 19, so you know he's B, but he's basically A.
Yeah.
I think he's a little less defense. But similar type of thing where he's doubling high, he's getting a lot of extra base hits, on base 10. I love what he brings to the table.
I do like that he doesn't get out much. And do you want to talk about the large card images?
Yeah. And this is one of the things I really like the larger cards, and I started playing around with it a lot in this set. I might have made 19 cutouts in one day. This might have been how I spent my Sunday last week. So, you know, the larger cards are easier to cut out. Like, frankly, the higher the definition, it's bigger lines. You know, you can play it a little loose at the areas you know aren't going to be in the frame.
Yeah.
Like, I think Nemo, I just cut off his left hand. Like, So, and I really like the way that he frames in this one. This one I especially like, and I like the pointing to guy, like he's thanking him for somehow getting to 450 points. Yeah. Like, I can't believe that I'm a star Showdown player. Thanks, creator. Yeah.
I
like the look of this one. Some of them I'm a little less keyed on as we go, but I think the really good players, the enlarged picture works really well.
I agree.
And from some of the other ones, not so much. Like Conforto, I don't like the picture. Frankly, it's the same picture I had for the 2016 card that I made, and I just made it bigger so it's not the exact same image. I didn't want to take the time to cut out another one because I was trying to get it posted on Sunday.
Yeah. But pretty good card here.
Oh, very draft. This is the third and I think final very draftable card in the Mets lineup from 2018. We'll see some of the pennant run cards and different story there. But you gotta love what he brings to the table for 320 points. He's a lot like the Kyle Schwarber card. You know, you get a lot of pop for an on-base 8 for just over 300 points. Perfect type of guy to slide into the 5 hole in a lineup. And I think he's definitely going to be drafted.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of your typical, I know Peter likes these guys, typical 8 on-base guys with a lot of pop. Only downfall here, I mean, he's got plus fielding. The only downfall here is his C-speed 12. That's, I mean, again, you got to take that here and there. I mean, I think he's very, very draftable. A great hitter. Obviously, I would like Nemo if I could get him because I love on-base 10 guys, but they're going to go quick. So where do you slot these 8 on-base guys in that hit power? It's 17 through 20 is a good power, and with controlled sort of down, this guy's going to hit a lot of hits for you. So I feel like you said, this guy's a very draftable player.
Yeah, I think once we start getting into the early double-digit rounds and people are filling out their lineups, you've got your third hitter, your fourth hitter, your leadoff guy, trying to find number 2, number 5 hitters, filling in the rotation, and then it's like, I think I should spend the 320, get Conforto, get Justin Upton, get
I
Kyle
see this guy as a
Schwarber. These guys
really
are
good
gonna get
5 hitter.
drafted.
A 5 hitter is like
Yeah,
the perfect place for this guy. Like maybe you got a big monster, but he could be your 4 hitter. I mean, realistically, but like he just fits really nicely, like just in that 5 slot. I think that's a really good hitter.
yep.
He's because you want your on base guys at the front, maybe.
Yeah, I think he's prototypical 5 in a deeper, more powerful lineup. If you get a lot of hitters early, he might be 6 or 7. If you go heavy on pitching, he's probably, someone who could slot in really well as a number 4 hitter.
Yeah.
So I think he gets taken and he hits in the middle of a lineup. And for a 14-team draft like we're planning to do, I think it's a guarantee he'll fly off the board.
Yeah, and for people that know, our 16-team league got sort of downgraded to a 12. It's a little confusing. A 12 in-person league with 2 online drafters, aka Peter and his buddy, that will contribute to the actual draft, and they'll play each other sort of separately online, and maybe there'll be some, some games on the side, but more or less, it's really fun to draft, and hopefully this league goes quick and we can get more drafting in. But 14-team league. I mean, obviously this guy's going, but I wonder, do you think McNeil goes before Conforto?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think McNeil is going to go. I know you
rate him higher
have
as I
him
do.
lower on your big board.
Well, I moved him
think
up
he's
after
gonna.
talking to you.
He's the type of guy that people will target, especially even in a bigger draft. I think people always like to pick like the savvy, cheaper option and open up more space for themselves late. And that always leaves, some guys going later than they should, pure points or skill wise on the card. And so people are going to, and it's not even reaching for McNeil. It's just saying like, hey, I know that he's an affordable, great option that I want to plug in. I'm going to snag him early, and I'm going to get one of the bigger points guys at the end who people can't afford anymore.
Unless Peter snags
and just like
him
sort
up.
of on a budget idea, someone I think is going to take him in the 4th or 5th round and say, this guy's an absolute stud who I'm going to plug into my leadoff spot, and I'm going to have a lot of points to play with for the rest of the lineup going forward.
I agree. All right.
Unlike Todd Frazier, who I don't think is going to get drafted.
No, and
this one is one that I don't like how it turned out. I tried to get the Todd father on there, and I couldn't size it right.
If anybody's going to get it, it's got to be Boxberger with his jersey from the fan.
Yeah.
But again, we're trying to get these cards out to everyone, and there's going to be cards that people don't like image-wise, and people do like. We have to play with this stuff to find what fans are interested in. You people are the fans that we're trying to impress, so definitely let us know in the comments. We don't really take offense to anything. We just state what we can do, and we're going to make it better every year. Hopefully 2019 will be better than 2018, and obviously the pennant run and stuff like that's coming up. But hey, we're trying to get these cards out to you. So here's Todd Frazier. I don't know if anybody's drafted him as a 6, so I don't think so, in my opinion.
No.
And I don't think you are.
And what seals the deal is the 1 to 6 outs. Like, yeah, he's got good double range and home runs, but 140 points for a guy who gets out 1 to 6 on his own chart as an on-base 6.
Yeah.
Pass.
I agree. So
whereas Wilmer Flores,
there we go.
A little less home run power, less defensive versatility, less speed, but walks at 3, doubles at 12. He might get picked.
Yeah. I hate...
Unlikely.
I hate slow, like C-Suite 10. I mean, we talked about the importance of MLB Showdown are a couple of things. One being, sack flies, getting that guy home, get on second base to the ACB guy, get a single and get him in. You got to score runs to win Showdown. C-Suite guys don't do that unless they got a lot of pop. So, I mean, obviously, like you said, 12 getting on second base here is really big. I don't like on my 6 guys, but obviously better than Frazier. So I'll take him, over Frazier, but I hope I don't have to.
You'd have to be an 8 or 9 hitter on a team unless you're super pitching heavy and you need to save a lot of points with your lineup.
I just don't hope he fall. I hope I can get any first baseman or DH better than this guy. But I'd rather have him over some other I like Josh Bell from a while back with the -1 first base, just a 9, much better than Flores. I mean, that's just me talking, but who else we got?
Jay Bruce, who's also going to be undrafted, I think, but I really like how this card turned out.
I like it.
I got the throwback jersey look with him. So he got sized really well in there. I love this Jay Bruce. Really disappointed that, I mean, he's never been a good on-base guy. Even when he's putting up good years with the Reds, he was still an on-base 6 most of the time. But then he had like a 14 to 20 home run.
Yeah.
So he was a little more interesting. Now he's pretty unplayable.
Look, I just like him.
I feel bad for the Mariners.
Indians with their big 22-game win streak or whatever it was. He felt like such a good person for the team, and I was sad to see him leave. So I always have a little bit of feels in my heart for him, but yeah, I'm not drafting this guy either.
No. And another guy who won't get picked, Kevin Plawecki. I mean, if you're going to be a bad hitting catcher, you can't also be a weak armed catcher, and he is both.
Yep.
So he's
not taking him.
He's undraftable.
Yeah, we'll talk about a better catcher later, but there's a reason why they needed a catcher. So what's next?
He's rough. And then highly touted prospect. This happens all the time. So we've got Rosario here, Med Rosario, on base 5, 30 points. He was a terrible defender last year.
This pitcher came out really good too. You did a good job in this one.
Yeah, I really liked him. Speed A22. I mean, honestly, there's less blow up pictures than I thought, but they're still scattered in pretty heavily. So, I like how this one turned out.
So he's going high in fantasy. He's going really high in fantasy. I don't know. I do both. I look at fantasy, I look at baseball prospectus, and then I look at like our showdown stuff. And I'm like, I don't know why he's going so high. I mean,
I'll be honest. I've started dominating fantasy by using showdown logic.
There's a lot to say about that. So people listening, you could look at some of this and go, maybe there's something else missing. I looked at this guy and I thought he was good. Again, you gotta look at trends. Was he on the up, versus the down? But realistically, this is taking his 2018 season and putting it into a card. So this is what he did. I mean, this is really what he was.
He was awful last year, and it seems like his bat just might not translate. I'm hopeful. I mean, his number one headline is that his confidence is surging right now. But I mean, he had a 290 on base percentage last year.
It's not good enough.
And the year before that, I mean, he had 170 plate appearances in 2017 and had 271 on base percentage.
Yeah, it's just not good enough. So unless we see something crazy this year, I mean, I'm rooting for the Mets because I like these underdog teams to do really well. So I'm hoping they just tear it up. But I just I don't know if this is the guy.
He had a negative defensive WAR last year.
Exactly. And
also, this is why I just in general sometimes I don't trust WAR. He had a 2.3 offensive WAR last year.
But it's his defense.
No. His defense was -1. His offense as an on-base 5. I mean, I know that he put up some counting numbers with the 26 doubles. He got 8 triples, 9 homers, stole 24 bases. He got caught stealing 11 times too. Struck out so many. There's no way this card is worth 2 wins above replacement.
You're probably right. But what's interesting is what's great about Showdown is if you look at the card, his on base is his real on base. But he has 10 through 20 technically getting on second. I mean, if you think about single plus. So he's getting there, but it's not really there. And so that's what I like about what Showdown shows you. It shows you what he really did. He wasn't a great on base guy, but when he sort of did it, he kind of got on there in second, third. It's not bad.
And it's one of the reasons I depress the controls a little bit.
I agree.
Because the very bad pitchers give up the advantages. And it seems like a lot of the time, the weaker hitters like Rosario are taking advantages of like these call-up guys or the weak relievers or some of these control 1, control 0 guys that they face 40% of the time.
Yeah.
And then just get owned by dudes like Scherzer.
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny with the elite levels or not of baseball. It's like there's the highly elite pitcher, the low elite pitcher, and then there's this highly elite Mike Trout, low player. But but I think Showdown really handles that, and maybe that's why I like playing it so much. With my friends, we get to drink and we get to play. We feel like we're fantasy drafting, which we all love, but we are also playing it right in front of us, and there's more to it than that. I don't know. I just feel like it really is nice to see a set that encompasses, and that's why I like later on you'll see. But what Peter does with tiers, especially with pitching, it just feels like it's very true to what the pitcher actually is doing, and therefore it handles really well for what the batter is doing.
Well, let's just transition to that because this bench is all worthless.
Okay, so let's go through the bench really quick.
Terrible. Jose Reyes, I think, looks awesome.
So
but he's terrible.
So Jose Reyes is the best thing about this card. This goes to Peter's all great picture team. Jose Reyes jumps on that team just because he looks so damn good.
I mean, he's good looking. He can play shorter third.
I like him.
Austin Jackson, I also like how he came out. These are like the bigger ones that I like. Like it's the intensity of the face and stuff, and they're not getting drafted.
No.
So
who is getting drafted? This.
Well, as number 3 on your big board.
Yes.
Number 1 in your cousin's heart.
Yes. I don't know. He likes Mookie Betts because he's a bowler.
Like undisputably has to be a top 5 pick.
Oh, for sure.
Undisputedly the best pitcher in this class, Jacob deGrom, who I think put up the best card since 2015 Zach Greinke as a starting pitcher. I believe he was also in the 670, 680 point range when he had his sub like 1.8 ERA. He was dominant in 2015. And Jacob deGrom was amazing that year too. So both of them are at this level where it's a tier 1, no doubles.
Yeah.
But so that's one of the bigger things that I do with my card creation that I think separates how we do starting pitchers versus some of the other card creators. So we go through and we figure out the 4 or 5 starting pitchers for every team, and then we put together everyone's ERA plus WHIP to rank them all in a tier, because I mean you could just go purely on WHIP, which is what we did with relievers, but I don't think that would necessarily reflect. Like Chris Sale's WHIP was 0.06, like significantly better than DeGrom's last year. Like, Verlander's WHIP was better than DeGrom's. But when you put up such a historically low ERA as a whole as DeGrom did, I mean, part of it in Showdown is sort of rewarding the fan expectation and putting stuff in. And DeGrom got guys out once they got on, and it's why he has a slightly lower control, because his WHIP is, and so essentially we do the ERA plus WHIP and we rank everybody. And so this year, if you have an ERA plus WHIP of under 3, you're in that tier 1 stratosphere. And so that this year, normally there's none. This year there were 3, DeGrom, Snell, and Chris Sale. And then if you have an ERA plus WHIP under 4, you're in the tier 2. And so essentially you got your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. How the tier system works, within a tier, you have your control, and then you have the number of outs on your chart. So DeGrom is a control 4, and he gets out 1 through 18.
Yep.
So 18 outs for control. Tier 1 is 22, is like the total.
Yep.
And so that's why Chris Sale, who's a control 5, has 1 to 17 out on his own chart.
Yeah, because his WHIP was lower.
Yes. And so he gives up a double, though, on his own chart because of his ERA.
Yeah, and that's why I like your tier system so much, because when I look at the card, I go, the control really is like the walks and hits per inning pitched, in my opinion. Yeah. But it does affect ERA, I get that. But the WHIP then controls the control within the tier, which then controls the amount of outs. Again, we'll talk about this later on in
and depth. So and then it's not an exact science, because then Blake Snell, who had the highest WHIP of the tier 1s, he got the control 6, but he also gives up the most on his own chart by only having 1 to 16 out.
Yeah,
exactly. Over the course of the game, if you play it out, as weird as it sounds, Blake Snell should allow the most base runners.
Yes.
But Jacob deGrom should allow the least amount of runs.
Yes, and again,
And Chris Sale, oddly enough, will allow the least amount of base runners.
and
now, it's not an exact science,
but Peter play tests more than
small sample sizes,
else.
but like it's kind of bared out every time I've done the full simulated seasons, and so like to put in perspective, Bob like called me as I was playing game 39 for the Padres and Mariners in our simulated season. All 30 teams, each playing 42 games, which works out to 630 showdown games that my friends and I all play by hand. We keep the stats for all of them, and we end up with a pretty decent sample size of how the cards are doing. And this is using the 2017 set, some 2018 guys, because we're on year 2 of our simulation. So we got a couple guys who are able to advance on each team. And we run it pretty hardcore. But what's, I think, confusing for some of the fans and fellow card creators out there is control in and of itself is not determinative of a card being better. And I like to analogize it to like Pedro Martinez in the original 2000 set was a control. He had 22 outs. He had 22 as his outs plus control. And tier 2 then was Kurt Schilling, who had 21 as his combined control and outs.
Exactly.
And so his control was a 6, which was greater than Pedro's 5. But put together, Pedro had more control plus outs. And that's the big thing you're looking for in pitching in general is control plus outs. It matters a whole lot more than pure control. And you can then get into, well, like doubles versus not doubles. Like my friend Kyle, for instance, is really big on a tier 3 control 4 with no doubles. So he will take a guy
That's my boy
who
right
only
there.
has a 20.
That's my boy.
Yeah. You're also way on this train. So like Mike Clevenger in this set, or Mike Mikolas, they'll take him over a guy like Garrett Cole, or maybe even Mike Fultonowicz, or however you say his name, from the Braves, who's also a control 4 and has one more out on his chart but gives up a double.
Yep.
And it's like I'd rather give up a walk instead of a fly ball than surrender a double instead of a single.
And
so it's an interesting strategic point of view.
And the people that know this, from 2000, Eric Milton had 6 control. It was not better than Pedro Martinez, who had a 5 control. I mean, this is pretty simple, but either way, what you look at then is what, like Peter was saying, is the tiers just work out so nicely when you look at it, because here's Chris Sale, who is better at the whip, so he gets the better control, but he's lower in the total, so he has maybe less outs or more outs. This works out so well. The total outs is actually a big deal. Control plus outs is a big deal. Everyone I know is looking at Jacob deGrom saying, this guy is a stud, and he is a stud, and he deserves this. Look at this, 670 points is hard to buy if you're in a salary.
It's pricey.
He's very pricey, but as my cousin, who is a huge bowler fan, he's a bowler himself, as Bumbargers are, Mookie Betts is his favorite player, but he was even looking at DeGrom going, how could you not take this guy? He has no doubles, no walks, 1 through 18 out, and I'm getting the advantage more than half the time against most players. He's your guy. I mean, he's gonna crush people. Now, personally,
a lineup that's straight on base 10s, he should be getting the advantage.
Easily
5% of the time.
And in a big league, no one's having those type of teams.
No.
But in my personal experience as drafting Peter's Bob Gibson, and again, everyone, just let you know, Peter is the go-to guy for statistics. He plays the most showdown, and his friends do, of anybody I know. So he is testing these cards. Like when I had the Josh Hader card come out, I told him, please test it out for me, because this card's ridiculous. He tested it out. I mean, these cards get tested for so long over such a big period of time. The statistics actually run out really well in the way that these are very similar to the statistics that show in actual showdown. That's why when I play my small sample season, which is only 18 games, I'm very confident when I feel it. I'm like, this is the real whatever, Jacob deGrom, etc. This Jacob deGrom is going to be a stud for everyone, and everyone should draft him if they can. Top 5 pick, top 3 pick, in my opinion. This is, if you don't draft The only reason you're drafting Mike Trout and Mookie Betts is because you love on-base 11s. If not, this is your first pick.
Yeah. All right, and so based on you brought up Josh Hader, so the Rays finished their 42 games. They won the AL East in ours, and Josh Hader was their big free agent signing.
Yep.
For whatever reasons. And so this was the Control 3 IP2 1-19 out Josh Hader that we released with the Brewers earlier on. He pitched 36 1/3 innings over 42 games, so he was a workhorse. He had a 2.48 ERA and a .74 WHIP. And in real life, last year, he had a .81 WHIP, so within .1, and a 2.43 ERA, exactly. So within .05.
This is why the cards that Peter is calculating, again, this is why Peter's awesome. Peter's stuff is so well-rounded. And again, small sample size. Yeah, if you're going to play a game or two, it's not going to work out. But when you play as many games as Peter's playing, it happens, and that's why I like the cards in my small league, which is only 18 games plus playoffs and stuff. It works out so well. And again, I always fault to the. I never did this tier system before. I always did a war system before. But as the more I learn about the tier system, and as I see these cards being developed by Peter, they just work so well, and it makes so much sense. As I feel the card, I'm like, Jacob deGrom, he just feels like a 4-1-3-18 out guy, and Blake Snell feels like a 6-1-16 out guy, and Chris Sale feels like a 5-1-17 out guy. This is how they feel, and it just works out so well. So I don't want to prolong it too much.
It's really important to me to not just do pure whip with a pitcher.
I
agree. Like you don't want to just have that. You want to also have the pitcher's sort of ERA reflected in it, even as much as we've learned from advanced statistics that ERA is quasi-luck based, with BABIP and everything like that, and the defense around you, which you can also use in Showdown by building better defenses behind them to cut down on runners going home and turn more double plays and things like that. But I just really wanted to create a system and mathematically reflect the ERA portion of a season as well, because that's a lot of times what we actually remember pitchers for.
Yep.
In the same way that we remember the huge home run seasons and great batting average. And I think on-base percentage lends itself to the average part. And like your on-base tens tend to be the guys who have great averages. Although Ichiro, his 0-1 season, I made a special card for that, and I made him a pocket 2.
Yep.
So that when you got the advantages of 9, he'd get a lot more singles. It's
here, tell everyone what your
tricky.
Tell everyone what your Twitter handle is, because you released that 01 updated Ichiro version, which was just fantastic, and people were loving it. I think people first were like, oh my god, how could you make him an on-base 9? But he's like a really solid on-base 9.
Yeah, I mean his on-base percentage was like clearly in the 9 category that year.
Yep.
Like he had a 350 average, but I think his on base was only like in the low 380s, high 370s, which in 2001 was not in the top 25.
Yeah.
My Twitter handle is MLB Showdown 2016.
Yep.
Because 2016 was the first year that my friends and I just made our own set, and really worked out a lot of the kinks. We did some stuff in 2013, I think, just for ourselves. We were super inspired by the stuff that Colby did, but we wanted to sort of put our own spin, especially on the pitching. So our hitting charts always end up very similar, but our pitchers are crazy different because we use this tier sort of setup. And yeah, we've been working since then. So MLB Showdown 2016. I love to put out random individual cards.
Follow Peter on there. David Bush is the Twitter name. But that's
he was my favorite. We went with David Bush because it's technically a shared account with me and all my friends, and our Gmail is with that greatest Showdown thing. And so Dave Bush, he had a really bad 2004 card. He's like a Blue Jay. He's a 4-1-16 out, which is really good for this, but not good when you've got like the on-base 14s and stuff and the ridiculous cards. So he somehow put together a Cy Young campaign. And it was the first time we ever played Showdown together. We were like, I think I was a sophomore. They were freshmen in college, and they hadn't played before. I introduced them to Showdown. And we played like a 30-something game league with like a draft from just a scattering of years. I think we mixed all the years together. So my team was heavy on like 2000 Barry Bonds, 2000 Sean Green, that Charles Johnson, who I petitioned hard to be MVP. And then we had like on base 14 Vinny Castilla also in the league.
Woo,
and so
Vinny.
it was fun. I was like, I'll go lower on base with more pop on it. And it was a crazy campaign. And Dave Bush ended up being a finalist for the Cy Young, way beyond his means. And so he became kind of our quasi-legend of a player.
So that's how you can follow Peter on Twitter. Obviously, follow me at Bob Umbarger. But obviously, we've broached a little bit off topic just because we wanted to explain to you guys, everyone at home, why Jacob deGrom is what he is and what he can perform for you and what he can do for you. Now, we'll just kind of go back to the Mets then. And again, you can listen to a later podcast. It's just on tier systems and whatnot. But let's go back to the next pitcher, which is, again, I'll separate a little bit. But Josh Hader, just let everybody know, I drafted him in 2 out of 3 leagues if I could. I have Jacob deGrom in a keeper league. But the next guy I've actually kept in leagues because I actually think he's really good is Mr. Thor. So, Peter,
he is really good. It's a shame almost that he follows deGrom because, like, if you listen to the Pirates podcast, a guy like Noah Syndergaard gush about as being a top of the rotation guy. But here he is, 230 points less than deGrom, gives up 10% more base runners and a double. But Syndergaard is still an absolute stud. Really good number 2 pitcher, especially compared to other teams in this division. And it's what sets the Mets rotation kind of apart. Like, he's just a really solid tier 3. This is the type of guy that I usually build my rotations around. I love
Peter's
targeting
dude. This Peter's dude.
Yeah, the mid 400 point tier 3 control 4 guy. That's my bread and butter. That's why I prefer him to Zach Wheeler, who's technically more points because of the higher control.
Are we going?
But I've been burned too many times by this David Cone recreation.
Now, what I will say is that this is why the Mets rotation gets compared to Houston Astros, Indians. I mean, you got deGrom, Syndergaard, Wheeler. It just looks so dominant. Now, when you look at deGrom and Wheeler, you look at Wheeler specifically, the 4 to 116 out is a huge deal for Peter, and there's a reason why. Again, we're talking about the 20 total outs here with the 16 out plus the control here. It's a big deal. Double sucks, but this guy could be a number 1 starter on half the teams, let alone he's hopefully your senior number 2. But I love Thor. Noah Syndergaard is a stud. Do you want to talk about Zach Wheeler next, or?
Yeah, I mean, and Zach Wheeler, another guy who can't. I mean, there's a reason that David Cone and Greg Maddux were in the original starter set, were the guys that they handed you as your aces. Like, this is like the prototypical standard number 1 guy. And there's better ones out there, obviously, but Zach Wheeler could easily be the anchor to your rotation.
Absolutely.
He's that good. And here he is as the number 3 guy on the Mets. Pricey rotation. But then saved a lot of points by Steven Matz, who sadly gives up a home run off his own chart, which is a real shame because you like the control 4 for your number 4 starter. Like, sometimes it's just nice when you're going up against another bad starter to have the higher control, and you'd rather be giving off base runners on your chart rather than letting them dictate from theirs. But the home run off his chart is probably going to make him undraftable, although he's really affordable for a tier 4 starter.
He could get drafted because of his salary. So when you look at Zach Wheeler, you look at your typical Greg Maddux, David Cone, which is great. I mean, that's funny to see that guy, your prototypical starter set guy, is your 3rd starter, which is great. And then it's like, okay, so I grabbed Zach Wheeler, or maybe I couldn't get him. But Steven Matz, I mean, I drafted this guy in one of my fantasy leagues. I actually think he's better than people think. But he is interesting because of his salary. Could this guy fit in your number 4 spot? I don't see him being a number 3, but at 160, if he fits in your number 4 spot, giving up a home run, I get it. That's only 5% of the time. And he's getting the advantage over 50% of the time. It's a good trade-off. I feel like he's a solid pick.
What scares me is only the 1-15 out.
Yeah.
Because I think he's going to have more chances to get that 5% than I'm comfortable with, unless you've got a really deep bullpen. Because if you know that you only need 3 innings out of him, he might be worthwhile. Like if you have DeGrom going for you the next game, and you can just burn your bullpen with Steven Matz pitching 3 innings and first sign of trouble, pull him, you're in a good setup.
Yeah, so if you think of this as just in the Mets sphere, you got DeGrom, you got Noah Syndergaard, Zach Wheeler eating up your innings, low reliever totals go through, and then Steven Matz, could you shift him out early? It's interesting. I don't know if I want him. I don't want anybody that gives a home run. But I've done this before with people, and saving that salary cap on a person like this can really help your overall team. And again, it's only 5% of the time. Yes, that guy rolling that straight D20 is going to be pretty awesome. But hopefully, what you're doing is limiting base runners because you're a control 4, 1-15 out guy, and therefore it's a solo shot. And therefore you could spend the extra salary into your on base. So I'm hoping that's what you guys are doing.
And then I really like the way he looks, but Jason Vargas is undraftable.
Yeah,
he's terrible.
Unless it's Brian Bohannon at 10 points from the original Showdown set.
Yeah.
I'm not drafting any 0-point starters. I won't draft this
especially with a homer on his chart.
Absolutely not. So swipe past this guy. Who's next?
Then we got the quote-unquote closer. Won't be the closer much longer, thankfully, because he's got a decent control with a 3, but with 1-15 out, this is a tier 5 reliever. So
Peter, what's going on?
Really hoping to avoid that
Peter,
type of
thing.
thing.
Is this guy chewing bubble gum?
Yeah. Yeah, no, he just got he's got his long locks and he is looking he's despaired. This is a guy who clearly is getting shelled.
This is a Mets thing with the long locks. DeGrom cut it off and has a Cy Young season, people. Do the same.
The opposite of Samson.
So who's
and
next?
Then,
is it Samson next?
All right, this is the most draftable guy in this bullpen. And I think, honestly...
Interesting.
He might be the 4th or 5th most draftable player on the Mets entirely, and that's Seth Lugo, who's... he's light I like in the starter there. He's like Syndergaard out of the bullpen with an IP2. I love this kind of card. This is the type of guy you bring in.
Interesting.
Easily 2 good innings. Possibly can push him for 3 if he gets the control 3 against the bottom of the order. This is an innings eater type of guy who's extremely valuable, especially at the lower end of a rotation.
And that's what I was going to say. You're looking at this guy being your backup to your 3-4 starters. You're looking at a guy who is in Peter's range here. Again, everyone, trust Peter. Trust me. This guy's going to help you win your Showdown leagues. When you got a control 4, 1-16 out guy, you're gonna do really well. This guy eats up two innings as a 4. If he can slide into an IP5 guy, we're saying here, he's going 6-7 innings before you get into your big load, and he's not going to hurt you. You're talking about a 4 control guy who's going to get the advantage a lot, and is in way less of the time. What is that? 20% of the time gonna maybe hurt you. But with the 2 IP here, 4 control. 1-16 out though is super really good. I don't look at these guys ahead of time, so I'm trying to react to this as I would react as a fan watching this. Seth Lugo, all of a sudden to me, is very valuable, and I actually like him a lot. I like, as Peter describes, a 4 through 1-16 out guy. I like Brad
he's Noah Syndergaard, continue
relief,
basically, out of your bullpen.
Absolutely. So why would you not want this guy? So great job. Again, Peter's artwork keeps coming through here, and I like the card the way it's done here. And I like the way the value works for this guy. I like this guy. I don't know if I can afford him on a team, but
you have to really think about it whenever it's an IP2, because basically I just double.
Yeah.
Like he would be 140 if he was a 1.
Yeah, so what are you looking at as your team? If you're, it depends on your league, everyone. Again, take a
Yeah.
look at your league. My league, when I do things, you could pitch 2 games in a row, and then you have to rest the third game. If you don't pitch 2 games in a row, you can keep pitching. So if you pitch 2 games, you have to rest. So if this guy pitches game 1 for 2 innings, he could pitch game 2 for 2 innings. That's my league. Every league is different. How your league determines that is how this guy is valuable. So when I look at this guy, I go, wow, this guy can pitch 2 games in a row for 2 innings. It's a 4 IP pitcher, basically. At 4 control, 1 to 6 out for half the value of a freaking starter. This is a pretty fucking good guy.
He's a really good. And
that makes him very valuable.
We had to change our rules because we had the same with you where it's 2 in a row like normally, and then game 3 we have you could pitch tired.
Yeah.
So like you are 1 control down, and then you can't pitch on the 4th game.
Oh.
And we were using the IP2 guys way too much because like the back-to-back, and then we were so we changed it so game 1 he's like a control 4 IP2. He pitches back-to-back the second game. He's control 4 as an IP1. So like loses an IP pitching back-to-back, and then game 3 is an IP1 with 1 less control coming in.
Okay.
And that's helped a little bit because 2017 Chad Green was an IP2, and he was almost unfair for the Yankees.
So can you do that? Can you just space it out like for 3 games then? So he's a 4-3. So he's like, you know, what I mean? Like saying it's a 1 IP guy. Can you do 4-3-2, and then he can't pitch anymore because he's so tired?
Yeah, exactly.
That? Okay.
Yeah. So like after 3 games, he's done.
So I could see that being enforced in my league. I really like that rule. It hasn't been enforced yet, and we're always looking for change. We're always looking for better opinions. Right now we do 1-2, and then obviously
which works. Which works too.
Clutch does a different thing, which I love. Clutch, everyone, hey, clutchmoment.com, love Clutch. They do something where if he's tired, so if he pitches the next game or whatever, or third game, I think it is, he is tired. So then every roll is on the quote unquote mistake pitch, which is a 24-sided roll. So he can pitch as a 4 control reliever, but the batter's roll is always a 24-sided roll. So it gives that extra 20% roll on what's going on. It's a big difference. So everyone has their own rules. If you feel like there's a rule that you want to tell us, let us know. Just tell me right now. Comment on my YouTube channel. Comment on Peter's Twitter. Comment on the blog. Let us know what we can do better. I would love to have an official rule for me and Peter.
Yeah.
Because Peter's got his friends. I got my friends. I want to combine them into a massive league eventually. But eventually we'll do this. So, Peter, before I get too off track and keep getting drunk, keep going. After Seth Luca, who do you got?
All right, so that's just 2 guys. They won't get picked. Control 2 relievers who are terrible. So Jerry Blevins and Paul Sewald.
Yeah. Not draftable.
Sewald in particular is dreadful.
And Paul Sewald, terrible.
Yeah,
so
you'll let them go.
Who's after Paul Sewald?
All right, so this is the guys I think a lot of people are excited for. People are really pumped about the Mets this year.
This is the only reason you tuned in this podcast.
Yeah. Do you believe in the Mets? I feel like... You're a Braves guy. I think the Nationals are going to win the division. Neither one of us bought into all this free agency hype.
But I love the Mets. East. I just think the Braves the best team.
Yeah. But I really doubted the Mets, and after putting together their pennant run cards, I'm maybe coming around a little bit. You got Robbie Cano to start it off, who I think people are going to be pumped about this card.
Swing since Griffey.
Yeah, I mean he had a really good second half with the Mariners last year. So there's some previews I think for everyone on what the Mariners and Phillies guys are going to look like, because here's Robbie Cano, really good 360-point second baseman on base 9.
Hold on a second. Did you take this Cano off the Seattle Cano?
Yeah, it's just the exact same card.
Okay, So Peter then took the Seattle Cano of what we produced for the Mariners, which you haven't seen yet, everyone. It's coming later. And he produced it into the Mets version, which is coming out obviously with this podcast and with this blog. But it's a pennant run version, quote unquote, because they just got traded to the Mets. This version, though, is exactly the same. So are all the versions you're going to release today the same? as the 20?
No.
Okay, so let us know different. So this Cano is the same as the Mariners version, and
Yes.
so as you see it, he's a C-speed 10, 9 on base, great. PED user, maybe.
The 15 double is what really makes him useful.
He's a really useful card, and this makes. I mean, again, I love Jeff McNeil. Can he sign your DH like you were saying? Because this guy plays second base better and is so solid. So can he fit there? I love it. I love.
And so, like in reality, Jeff McNeil, I think, can also play third base, and they're probably going to platoon him with like Jed Lowry and Todd Frazier at times this year. But yeah, no, you got Cano definitely taking over second base. Then Jed Lowry is different, and he's the same point value, but I figured he'd have better lineup protection based on some of the other stuff. So I bumped his on base. The fly ball 5 is going to be an out. I just forgot to change it because I had been working. If you couldn't tell, I made Jed Lowry right after I made Robbie Cano.
Yeah,
and I just forgot to delete the on base 5.
And,
for the out fly ball there.
What I will say is thank you people that are watching this, looking at this. We actually don't we're not trying to be offensive. Please correct us if you see something that's a mistake. I want your criticism because it only makes our cards better. And it only makes our cards better for Peter's set with his friends and my set with my buddies. It only makes the entire set more comprehensive, more comprehensive, more accurate. So if you see a mistake, obviously, before anybody prints their cards, I would like to correct those mistakes. So, yes, Jed Lowry's wrong. We'll fix that, and it'll be correct eventually on the site. And if you want, yell Peter on Twitter or yell Bob on Twitter, and we'll all fix it. Don't worry, guys. But either way, the pictures aren't out yet. The spring training photos aren't.
Yeah.
We can't find everything. So we got Jed Lowry in his Mets uniform.
Yeah, because he hasn't done anything yet. So here he is. I think I took him. He's like leaning against the wall, and I like photoshopped out the wall. His hand is just like floating in space rather than resting on the wall that it was on.
Yeah.
But I cut down. He had a lot of power last year, which I don't think he'll replicate. So I cut down on his power a little bit, changes out, stuff like that. Just made him a little more feeling. Wilson Ramos, I highly doubt replicates last year's success. But it's really exciting that he was so good last year, and that makes him a big signing. So he's the exact same as he's going to be on the Phillies.
Yeah, so if you were drafting him as a Phillies player, you're going to draft him as this great on-base 9-game +8 catcher, which is great, and you already drafted him because we had the Phillies podcast earlier. This is what you're doing. But now he's in the Mets. This is exciting for them. And this be what you get? We don't know. That's what we're excited about.
I mean, that's 3 on-base 9s. And then here's Cespedes, return from injury.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah. And so I went with honestly, I just really like Cespedes. And I went with the more optimistic projections that I found. I looked for what people thought his season was going to look like. And I went with some of the more optimistic ones. So he got the on-base 7 rather than the on-base 5 or 6 that he probably deserves. So he's a useful player, but he's got some flaws. So for 290 points, you like the 15 to 20 home run. You like the +2 defense, but speed C, 1 to 5 strikeout. Makes him a risky player for nearly 300 points for probably a number 6 or number 7 hitter in your lineup.
Well, the biggest thing about him is he's got the plus fielding and the plus home run range. So with controls down, again, people that are doing this, it depends on your league. Are you doing the pennant version run that Peter's releasing slowly, or are you just doing 2018 straight? Like, if you're releasing the pennant run version where Peter's slowly trickling his cards in, then you do an expansion. So my first Showdown League of 2018, quote unquote, it's 2019 now, will be just 2018 cards. Second version will be 2018 cards plus the pennant version. And this will be a huge deal. And I'm sorry if my son's joining the image. My son just wanted some screen time. But Cespedes is not bad as a 7 on base, 15 to 20 home run as a plus fielder. He's got that cannon freaking arm.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's a guy who I think you've got to highly consider drafting, but I think he's going to cause some controversy in terms of how high do you draft him?
Yeah.
When do you look for him in the draft, and then where do you want to slot him into an order with the on-base 7?
Yeah, it's a little interesting.
So,
well,
yeah, and then the Mets bullpen improved a lot,
Woo!
which was the other thing I didn't really realize.
One person
Edwin Diaz, obviously,
particular.
absolute stud last year for the Mariners. So he's got the 1-17 out with a control 5. This is Pedro 2001 brought to closer form. Absolute dynamo. I want him. I see why the Mets are excited about him. And then we've also got Familia from the A's. I found he's back home.
Real quick,
I love the picture I found because he looks so grateful to be back in New York. He's just a big upgrade over Seawald.
Is Diaz the same stats as the Mariners?
Yeah, both of them are the same.
Okay, so Diaz, no one knows this yet, but the Mariners when they come out will have this exact same statistics, but a Mariners photo instead. So for people doing the 2018 only set, this will be your picture. This won't be the picture. You'll use the Mariners version, but you could use the Mets version as well. And like you said, this is a Pedro Martinez. Edwin was that dominant as a Met, as a Mariner, and will hopefully, if not better, as a Met with with no DH facing pitchers. So this is really interesting that he's going to the Mets, and I love the card. I know they don't have all the Mets pictures yet, and so Peter did a great job putting this together for everyone that's listening. And hopefully everyone, again, this will be as my part of my 2018/2019/pennant version when we do the next league after this. But this Edwin Diaz is gonna be a stud, no matter where he's getting drafted. I mean, this guy is for ridiculous. I mean, if you're talking about a Pedro Martinez type person in your rotation, you're loving it.
Yeah, and I think it might be a little confusing to people. Why are some how can this pennant run set be some are the same cards, some are wholly different based on projections, and they're new people. Some are just, and so I basically just did it because that's what they always did in the original pennant runs. You had your for Bryce Harper, a little preview. A-Rod in 2001 went from the on-base 10, homer at 18 to homer at 17 because he went to the better field for it. And so Bryce is going to get the little update. And so some of these guys, they got a little boost. Some are back from injury and use old projections. I think we're going to try to throw some rookie cards in.
Yep.
And should be overall a fun little addition to the set. So
yeah, we have a lot of projections.
All good.
Projected potential cards coming out with the PP logo.
Yep.
We got rookies coming out. We're trying to get pennant runs. We got all sorts of things going on. Me and Peter and Matt got lots of fun things going for the blog, along for the podcast in general. And I'm hoping all you entertain the blog. And if you aren't a part of the blog, please join the part of the blog because we have other writers too, adding more and more content every day. And this is what I'm talking about. The MLB Showdown, we had some fans on Twitter that just found us. And they were like, I used to play this all the time. People, the Showdown game, it died. But the fans keep it alive. Me and Peter, Matt, all the people around the freaking world are keeping this game alive, and we want you to participate. We want the Peters of this world to keep playing this podcast, or keep playing the games and all the stats, and they want to keep producing content, and they want to see the statistics are right, and these images are right, and everything's right, and we're going to give you that content, and we're going to give you the right cards and everything to keep your leagues up to date. And we're going to keep it crushing out, and we're keep the content rolling on the blog and everything. Just pay attention. There's some challenges on there. Maybe you guys want to see what's going on. There's some interesting challenges. You want to see the new content that's coming out. Everything's there for everyone that wants to have a little bit of take on this. And again, we love your opinion. Tell us we're wrong. Tell us what can we do better. Or what can we?
And if you have your own league, something like that, feel free to reach out. And we always accept new writers. We're a completely free blog. We don't make any money on this. We don't advertise. And so anyone who wants to post and write,
involved.
Yeah, and so if you're also like a big Showdown nerd and you have ideas for stuff and content, or you just want to talk about your league, whatever, reach
Absolutely.
out and we'll hook you up because we just love building the community.
Yeah, there's one thing I love is other leagues that are going on, because I love hearing what the people are drafting, what the people statistics are doing, and
Yeah,
what they're producing. Me and Peter and Matt are the pretty much the forefront of this edition, but we have lots of bloggers, and what we want is the fans to contribute. This is all free content, everyone. This is a fan supported business, basically. The fans are
yeah,
running this. Like, if there ain't fans, there ain't no Showdown. And I love
no,
it. My friends love it. They love drinking. They love playing the Showdown. They love. I keep all the statistics, but they love it all. And I hope you, as a fans, love it all too. And hope your kids are involved. And hope you, as a fan, are involved. And you keep it running, because we, as a community, can keep this thing going, and we keep it prospering and whatever, and they keep it updated, and hopefully for 2018, 2020, etc., etc., etc. And this can only promote the business farther, and keep all the statistics running. Again, let us know. I want the challenges. Well, who was your MVP last year that was stupid? Who was your least most valuable player? I love seeing when a guy has 600 points and did terrible for your league. I love
yeah,
those stats. I love the statistics that didn't work out, because, again, everyone, it's just a roll of dice. We're just having fun with our friends. We're just having fun. If I'm facing
yeah,
Peter, again, I'm going to rip him a new one verbally, but it's just a roll of dice. You've heard Peter roll the dice on the podcast. He's always rolling dice. My daughter's always rolling dice. We're always rolling dice. You never know when it's going to happen, and it's going to be random, and it's going to be whatever, and it's just fun. And so what I'm saying is, people, have fun, roll the dice, keep it going, and just keep the fans rolling, keep the stats rolling. Let me know what you guys are doing. Again, this is the Mets version of that. And I think next we have the Royals. The AL version is
I think so.
a little bit less. Hopefully, we have a video going with me and Peter and whatnot, and I'll let you guys all know. Thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you for Peter for being there. And with that, my bourbon has already been done, so people, keep a drink up. And all right, thank you, Peter.
Bye.
Have a good one, everybody.